Hi there. I've just been having a lovely chat with Anjana Khatwa, who is an earth scientist. She's not actually in front of all those fossils, but she has got some fossils just on her desk right now. She just lifted one up. It was beautiful. She's got some stories to tell us about her touchstone experiences as a 13-year-old girl in Kenya, finding a piece of lava. And really, that was the beginning of her career when she fell in love with rocks. And I totally understand that. We've been sharing some experiences about that, but I'm really, really, really honoured to have you here because you're not only supporting what I think is really important, that getting more people from diverse backgrounds and all sorts of children and adults to museums as an engagement lead at Wessex Museum. You're a presenter on TV with lots of exciting stuff in the past and in the future. You've got a book coming up called The Rock Whisperer, which is amazing because I love the horse whisperer as well. And you've got a lot to teach us. You've also got a TED Talk next Tuesday. So you are the girl to be talking to about all things rocks. And we're lucky that you're speaking to us at Botanic Shed on the title of What We Can Learn from Rocks in Our Relationships, particularly, and about survival. So that'll be really good later this month. But would you like to just tell us a bit more about your work at Wessex Museum and a bit about the story of you on your geology journey?
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for having me, Lara. Well, I'm the engagement lead at Wessex Museums, and it's my role to really bring in audiences who have been historically excluded from museums into our 4 museums that are located in Dorset and Wiltshire. And I'm pretty much a matchmaker, if you like. I work with the museums, the 4 museums that are in our partnership, and I work with the teams there to ensure that they understand how to welcome all sorts of audiences, from disabled young people all the way through to Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities, into our museum spaces. But what I also do is I go out into those community groups to build trust and understanding and listen to what they would like from museums. And it's just a wonderful, privileged job to do.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant work, much needed, especially now as these holidays are coming up. You must be paving the way for lots of people to enjoy what museums have to offer and what nature can teach us. So it's a fantastic job.
It is.
Your TV work's also quite exciting and has kept you very busy. So Channel 4 next time. I know you can't say much about it.
It's been a wonderful career. I mean, I've been contributing and doing a little bit of presenting on television about geology and geosciences for about 15 years. And I'm privileged to speak to so many people and share my joy for rocks with them.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really fantastic that you've got so much going on. And that we've got you here. I'm quite excited. My nephew is over the moon, and he thinks there's an asteroid landed in our field out here. We're just outside Newbury in Berkshire at the moment. And you're in West. You're in Dorset now. So I was just thinking, you grew up in Slough, didn't you?
That's right.
Where my dad was born.
How fantastic is that? Yeah, Slough is basically in the Ice Age, and now I live in the Jurassic. So that's how I would describe it.
That's really good. You've got a couple of key apps to tell people about that they could use, would you like to share them and what your tip is for us?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, my whole focus and passion in my career as a geoscientist has been to connect people of all backgrounds with the rocks under their feet. And there are 2 ways that you can do this, actually. If you have a smartphone, you can download 2 apps which will really begin to bring you into the world that I live in. One is from the British Geological Survey, and it's called iGeology. And it's a brilliant app because it's a bit like Google Maps, but except it uses geological maps. So if you press a little button which tells you to enable your GPS, the app will take you directly to where you are at that moment in time, and it will show you the rocks under your feet. And I love it. I was in Cornwall over the weekend, and we were doing this amazing walk from Boscastle to Tintagel, and I was constantly referring to the app to understand and tell my family the rocks that we were walking over, and it was just, it helps you to really embed yourself and understand the landscape, because then the rocks, almost the mystery and the secrets, are revealed when you understand that you're walking over ancient lake sediments or ancient seabed sediments. Suddenly the world becomes far more magical.
Yeah, and it's a massive part of that is so good for your health, to actually allow your brain to focus on what what's going on here and now. And not only that, but be fascinated and be focused on something which is giving you joy and interest rather than all the list of worries and things that you're worried about. So it's very much like gardening, isn't it? It's like knowing what's around you.
That's it. And another really good app for those, particularly for your nephew who loves fossils, is the NHM Natural History Museum Explorer app. And that app in particular focuses on fossils where you are. So for example, if you come to the Jurassic Coast, like Charmouth behind me, this is a really good app. If you're walking along the beach, again, it's a GPS enabled app. You click on your location. What it does is the app tells you about fossils that are in the rocks around you. So what's brilliant about the app is you can walk along the beach at Charmouth, and I'll just pick up a fossil here that I picked up, not at Charmouth, but at Lyme Regis, and you can just, there we go.
Oh God, it's going in. That's do you amazing.
See that? That's a little pyritized ammonite there. You can just see it. But I know it's an ammonite because I'm a geoscientist, kind of a rock expert. But if you don't know, you can use the app that will kind of decode the rocks around you.
So if you find that, and then it will sort of point you in.
You match your fossil to the picture. Essentially, it's like a bit of a
amazing. Yeah, he will absolutely love that. I know loads of children will. That's really good advice. You've also got a YouTube channel on which you do a series of what is your town made of?
Yeah, it's called Where on Earth Do You Live? And if you go to Dr. Anjana Khatwa on YouTube, you'll see a bunch of videos that I've made. One called Where on Earth Do You Live that I made during lockdown when we were all stuck at home, and I was like, oh, how do I excite people about what's under their house because they're locked inside? That's quite a nice little series. But I think if you've got children, I did another series with my daughter called Mini Jurassic Girl Discovers, and it's designed for year 3 pupils who are studying rocks and fossils at primary school. But essentially we examine and kind of do little experiments all about rocks and fossils, and there's probably 6 programs in that series that we did together, and they're just really good fun.
That's wonderful. I will share that on Botanic Shed if anyone doesn't find it, but we'll also be sharing your details underneath these interviews. That's fantastic. We've had a nice chat beforehand, and we realised we've got more in common. Well, I don't know anything about rocks really. I just know I love being around them. We've also both had a very tough experience, as many of us have, and not all of us talk about, but in terms of surprising family relationship breakups, and we've learned how strongly nature plays a role in our lives to teach us how resilient we can be, and how out of fragmentation comes joinery, really. And you've got a beautiful stone there. I know you're going to talk about that more later this month on our longer talk, but I thought the Oolitic limestone that's 120 million years old would be quite a little nice thing to show.
Yeah, thanks for that, Laura. It's a really beautiful rock. If you live or you visited the Cotswolds, you will be very familiar with this rock. It's a cream-coloured rock, and hopefully it's not going to go out of focus here, but it's cream-coloured rock, and it's what makes the Cotswolds special. It's called a limestone, so it's like a chemical sedimentary rock made from, the main chemical is calcium carbonate. So if you've ever looked inside your kettle and thought, oh God, it's full of this white limescale, that's what calcium carbonate is. Now, this particular limestone is an oolitic limestone, and what it's made out of are these tiny little balls. You have to you can see them with a little hand lens, but if I take you back 120 million years, this rock was forming in an environment like the Bahamas today. So you're thinking of like really warm, shallow turquoise seas and white sandy beaches, with lots of seashells. And what was happening at that time was these seashells were being knocked around and broken up into fragments, and they were being kind of tossed and tumbled about in the water on the shore, on the edge of the shore. Now, as they kind of got tumbled about, calcium carbonate, which was in the water, dissolved in the water, would precipitate out and kind of attach itself onto the fragment of that shell. And then over time, those layers they would build up a bit like if you had a snowball and you were rolling it in some fresh snow, you would almost be creating layer upon layer of calcium carbonate. And these tiny little balls, they're called ooids. And over time, there were so many of them that they cemented together to form this beautiful kind of creamy limestone rock, which is what you see in the Cotswolds.
Which is what happens with, in life, when sometimes things fall apart and other things come together. It's good to know.
That's right. And I mean, in my experience, I got married to my ex-husband, and we decided to have a baby, and she was probably about 6 months old when he sent me a text message to say he was leaving me, and we never saw him again. So I came home, read the text message. He'd said he'd left. He didn't want to be a father to our baby girl. Didn't want to be married to me. And that experience really shattered me. As you can imagine, it was incredibly traumatizing. And you're left with a very small baby to look after. I was on maternity leave as well, so I had to go back to work like 6 months later. And your life just shatters into pieces. And what we had to do, and I think what rocks like this can teach us, is that life goes on, actually, and you have a resilience inside you that you didn't know you have. And just like these fragments of these shells, we were tumbled around, and we were subject to all sorts of different, turbulence and, upset. And as we grew together through this kind of turmoil, each of us built our layers of survival and understanding and knowledge of how to be with each other. So as a mother and a daughter, and we became Uids essentially. But what was really lovely was that we became closer in our bond to each other. So just like all of the millions of Uids in this rock, we became cemented together and a real strong unit. And I think if we can learn anything from this rock, it's that life always finds a way, but the experiences that fragment you and kind of rip you apart can often make you into something new, which is stronger and in a way more beautiful.
Yeah, that is so lovely. I can't wait to talk more about amazing and inspirational stories from rocks to us later this month. So do you think you've already said your tip, or would you like to give your one takeaway tip to the audience that they could do that will help them relate to nature more closely through engagements with rocks?
I think my key tip is just open your eyes to the rocks around you, because actually for the most part they're invisible. We don't even see them, and we're attracted to the beautiful bright colors of flowers or the noises of birds or the freshness of greenery around us. But if you just take a minute to look at, like this granite, for example, I picked this up in Cornwall. You look at this and you think, actually, this piece of granite, when it was molten rock underneath the Earth's surface, this granite took 2 million years to cool down from when it was like a molten heaving mass underneath the Earth's crust. But when you look closely at it, because it took 2 million years to cool down, there are these beautiful crystals inside it. And they're almost like flowers blooming in the first sunshine of spring. They're so stunning. They sparkle in the light. But there's a resilience and a strength to that rock, because, it's in my hand today, 300 million years later.
Yeah. Let's hope that there's not instances where humans take 2 million years to cool down. Otherwise, it take a long time for us to. But we know it hasn't taken that long, and we are resilient. And it's just brilliant that we've crossed paths. And I'm so glad to then introduce you to people who found Botanic Shed as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely talking to you. Bye bye.
Thanks for having me, Lara. Thanks. Bye.
It's a pleasure. Bye. Come and join us there, or learn about it by visiting the website botanicshed.com. See you soon. Bye.